Want to learn how to do the double crochet? Maybe you're just looking for a refresher. Well, either way, I got you covered. Stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a double crochet. For this particular stitch, the double crochet, there's a couple things that I want to go over, actually showing you the example with the symbols, the charts, and things like that. So that way you have a better understanding going forward. There are a few things that I wanted to go over before we actually start making the double crochet. And the first thing I want you to know is when you're looking at stitches or patterns, usually what they'll tell you is, they'll give you an example, they'll tell you how many foundation chains that you need in order to make this particular stitch or pattern. For a double crochet, it can be any number. The reason why I say that is because you'll see some patterns, let me put this here, any number, it doesn't matter. Some chains or some stitches will say you have to do them in multiples, some you have to say even or whatever. So for a double crochet, you don't have to worry about that. So you're gonna get that part out of the way. The next thing to know is the abbreviations. So when you're seeing a double crochet written in a pattern form, it's gonna be listed as DC. DC is the actual abbreviation. So if you see someone type in, DC 20, double chain 20, 20 DC, whatever, DC is the abbreviation. And the next thing I'm going to show you here is the symbol. This is important. So the symbol looks like a T with the line next to it. That's a little line going down. Some of the older ones actually had it so it looks like a little T with the going straight across. But the ones that I see nowadays are actually has the little line going towards the little angle like that. So now there's a few more things that I want to talk to you about before we go any further, because once you know this, it's going to make learning and understanding how to do the double crochet so much easier. And also it's going to help you with learning and understanding crochet patterns and reading, looking at charts as well. So the next thing we want to talk about is the chain. So the chain is abbreviated as CH, and that's going to be a symbol that looks like an oval. So it's an oval shape. So that's the next thing we're going to talk about. You're going to hear me mention, how many chains you have to do. And then I'll tell you, the next thing you'll hear me say is yarn, that's a Y, yarn over. And you might see that in a written pattern saying YO. So that's the abbreviations, YO for yarn over. You'll hear me say like yarn over, pull through. You'll hear that type of terminology. And the last thing is you'll hear me say loops. So you'll hear me say how many loops you have on your hook. That's another abbreviation. Sometimes it's LPS. Usually I see it written as LP. So again, it just depends on who the designer is and who's the person that's making the pattern for you. So now that you got that, let me show you what this looks like in actual form with charts. I'm gonna write this out for you and draw this for you so that way you have a really clear understanding of how this looks. So what we want to do right now is actually go ahead and do 10 chains. So this is the starting point. This is where my slip stitch is going to be at, or I'm sorry, my slip knot. And at this time here, we're going to go ahead and chain 10. So to start off, we're going to do these ovals. Okay, so now that we have 10 of these, this is going to give you the foundation chain of our crochet stitch. Now, because we're doing a double crochet, we need to go to the height of a double crochet. And when I say height, that's kind of like how tall the stitch is. Some people will say, like, if you look at the post, how many chains height is the, or how many chains is that post? And for a double crochet, it's going to be 3 chains high. So when we start off with our very first chain, we're going to go after the 10 chains we've created here for the foundation. We want to go up 3 stitches. So our 3 chains. So 1, 2, 3. So that is going to be the height of our double crochet. So now that you know that, here the next thing I want to do is draw a little picture here, and let's pretend that this area right here is where your hook's at. So just imagine your hook is in this section right here. So the next thing you want to know is where to place your hook. So from this point here, starting your double crochet, you want to go into the 4th hook, for the 4th chain before your hook. So the reason why, because again, we're talking 3 chains high. So this is going to be 1, this would be 2, this would be 3. So the fourth chain here is going to be this section. This is where you want to place your crochet hook. You want to put it in there. So before you put your chain in, you're going to yarn over, then put your chain in, yarn over, pull through. And again, I'll go through this. I'm not going to show you the pull through. I'm not going to talk about that right now because I'm going to demonstrate that with you when we do the hook and yarn, the overhead shot of that. But right now, I just want to show you this because this is really important for you to understand this part first. So that way you can see it on paper. You're going to know exactly where the placement goes for your hook and also, where the chain is and that kind of information. So the next thing I want to mention here is this part is going to be the base. So let me delete this here. So get rid of that, get rid of this. So now that we have that here, I want to mention to you that this, you can see it right, this is going to be the base of our stitch. So we do our, change the color. So our double crochet is going to be right here. And that is a crazy color that I used, or a crazy marker. Get rid of that. This stuff too. Get that out of the way. And we go back to our regular marker. So again, we're going to do this here. This is going to be where our double crochet is, and that's how you created this post here. These are all the same thing. So those 3 that goes up, that's what makes your very first double crochet. The next thing I want to mention to you here is this section, this part right here. That's where you want to place your stitch marker. So please, if anything I tell you right now, use your stitch markers. Use them as much as you can, whenever you can, because it makes the biggest difference in your outcome of your project. There's a lot of times I'm working on things and I may skip 1 or 2 stitches and it just makes the edges look bad, and you skip, you'll get some gaps. It just completely ruins it. So, and you don't want to keep on frogging. Like if you missed a stitch like 10 rows back and you have to pull and rip it and frog, that totally, it's a bummer. So I don't want you to have to do that. So just please make it a habit of using your stitch markers as much as you can. So now that we have that here, I'm going to go ahead and erase this and go back and create these. So that's the 10 chains. We go 3, and then we're going to go ahead and start now with our double crochet, and that's the little line next to it. And we're going to keep on doing this until we get all the way to the end. So I'm going to keep on doing this. So once we get to the end, that completes row 1 of your actual stitch, of the crochet stitch. So now if we want to go to the next row, we're going to go up 3 more chains, because again, that's the height of the next crochet stitch. So remember, the double crochet is 3 chains high. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this marker here. So 1, 2, 3. So now that we have 3 of them, that's, again, this is where you place your stitch marker. So now we want to double crochet on top of the crochet stitch that was below it. So what we're going to do now is double crochet into this spot right here. So that's where it's going to go. And by the way, the pictures below are supposed to be like that. It's supposed to look like a T with the line sideways, not an actual T with... My drawing's not the best, but you understand what I'm doing. And then just continue along the way. Just continue, keep on doing this all the way till you get across. And I'm going to do a couple more here. And then now that you get to the end of that row, again, if you want to repeat the process, you have to chain 3 more. And again, stitch marker goes there. And this is the base. Remember, we're talking about that's the base of the next post. So this is going to be the base of that post. And then from there, you just continue the process of going all the way across. Now that you understand that here, I kind of want to explain something else. Again, I'm doing all this right now because going forward, when you learn this stuff ahead of time, it's going to make everything else so much easier. You're going to start understanding how to read a pattern. And actually, if you see the chart, it kind of helps you, knowing both of those. You can like, okay, I know exactly where they're talking about, because maybe they wrote the abbreviation a little bit, the wording might be off or whatever. But if you can see it on the chart and know what the symbols look like, you know exactly where the placement of your hook or the stitch you need to do. So that's really important. Now, the next thing I want to mention to you on the bottom here, we're going to be going from this direction. So that's the direction, that's the flow. And the very first row on the bottom, which is all the chains, that's our foundation row. Remember we talked about before, our foundation chains? So that's our foundation row. And now, this part right here, the very first row with all these these double crochets, that's going to be listed as row 1. And the thing is, some patterns, you'll see if you see a chart, it may just say 1 next to it, or it might say row 1. So that's what I want you to understand again. And then we're going to continue to work in this direction. So now we get to this side over here. This is going to be row 2. So now you get it. And now what I talked about earlier when I said to mention the turning chain. So at this point here, once you finish and got to row 2, so let me go ahead and delete this up here. I'll delete this. That's row 3 I'm deleting, by the way, because you know that's the next one. So once you got to row 2, that's where you have the turning chain, you chain 3, and then you turn your work over and you continue to go wrong. I'm just giving you a little preview, because when we show you, I just want you to understand that's the turning chain and why I'm telling you now. So when you see it, when we do it actually with the hook and yarn, it definitely makes sense to you. So there you have it. That's how you actually learned just now how to read it and how to look at a chart, because I did the symbols for you. So you are well advanced now and you know exactly how to do this. So let's dive in and actually put this to work with our hook and needle. Before we actually dive into it, I want to show you something here. This is a swatch that I've made, and this particular swatch here is made up of a few different stitches, and I want to show you because when we do the double crochet today, you're going to understand the difference in the height when we talk about when we say how tall the stitch is. So this is a single crochet, and what I've done here is I've actually done 2 of each stitch. I've done 2 singles, 2 halves, 2 doubles, and then 2 treble crochets, and you can see how it goes at an angle because every time that you do a different stitch, because this is a single, it only goes up 1. The half double goes 2 chains high. The double, which we're working on today, this is made up of 3 chains as far as height goes. And then you can see, you can see it a lot easier with the post. Just like the treble crochet, you can see the post a lot easier compared to seeing like the single crochet here, and even like the slip stitch. The slip stitch is the smallest of all of them. But I just wanted to show you that so you can actually get an idea of how it looks like in comparison when we talk about the stitches on the side, like how many chains you go up, and that's the reason why. There's something I want to show you. So actually, before we start, this is an example of a foundation chain. Some people like to do their chains in a certain manner, like meaning, so when I tell you to go ahead and insert your hook into the next chain or whatever chain I tell you, usually what I do personally is just go through the yarn on top by itself. However, there are a couple different methods you can use. If you look in the back of the chain, you'll see that there's going to be a little bump in the back. You see a little bump here. So sometimes if you want to make a different type of foundation chain, and I've actually been taught to do it this way, I just, for me, it just depends on what I'm making or whatever I want to do. But usually I just go through the top. But I'm going to tell you another way, and this is the way that I was originally taught, was to go through both of them. So you go through that little bump that I was referring to. So if I tell you to chain through the next loop, so if I say to chain to the 4th chain, whatever you just count, just count your chains, whatever you go to. But instead of just going through straight to that part here, I would tell you to go ahead and just try it that way. So just go through the very bottom, go through that bump, and go through that part. So when you're chaining, give that a try. That's just something different. I'm not going to do it for this particular training here, but it's just something you can try out because I like to tell you little tips while we're doing things. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just chain 5. We're going to do this is going to be the double crochet, and we're going to go ahead and chain 5 to begin with. 1, 2, 3. And while I'm doing that, let me give myself some more yarn here. Got to give myself some more yarn in order to get you all ready. All right, so now that we got the 5 here, again, you can look at the chain. You don't want these to be twisted, so just try to keep this as easy as you can. And for the double crochet, it's going to be made up of 3 chains height. So it's going to go 3 chains to make the height of the actual chain itself. So the stitch itself. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now this 3rd chain here, that's where I was showing you on the pictures earlier. That's where you want to place your stitch marker. So if you wanted to put a stitch marker in, you could put it in this location right here. Not the one on the chain, not the one on the hook, but this location right here. That's where I would put my stitch marker. You see right here. That's where I would place it, and I'll tell you, always use a stitch marker as much as you can, whenever you can. But now that we have this here, what we're going to do for this double crochet is we want to skip the first 3 chain and go to the 4th chain. So in the double crochet, it's a yarn over first. So you yarn over first. So we're gonna have 2 loops right here, and then we go to this 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 4th hole that we want to place it in. And remember, like I told you earlier, you can go through the both of them if you want, like the little bottom, go through there. I'm just gonna go through the top. But again, it does make a little difference on your foundation chain. But this video tutorial is just teaching you how to do a double crochet, so I'm not gonna do that. So now you got 3 loops on your hook, and we're gonna go ahead and yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull to the next 2. So that is how you do a double crochet, and I'm gonna go ahead and do some more here. So yarn over, go to the next chain, use your finger if you have to push through, yarn over, and I give myself I like a little bit of tension here. I make it a little bit loose so I can go a little higher here, so that way it makes this slide in a little easier. So yarn over, pull through 2, and then I get my better grip here, yarn over, pull through 2, and then when I do the next one, so yarn over, go to the next chain right here, and again, make sure this doesn't twist. So keep it so this is all the same way every time, so it looks good when you're finished. So give it a little height here, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we go to the next chain, yarn over to begin with, go through here, the little hole, bam, looking good, feeling good, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and there we go. We go yarn over, and this is going to be yarn over. This is going to be the last one here. yarn over, pull through, and it's going to look all crazy like this at first. The first couple rows will do that, so just keep in mind it gets better after you go past it. Give myself a little height here, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now that you finished the very first row, so this is the very first row, you want to count the stitches. So again, we did 5, so you should have 5 V's on here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 stitches. You have 5 double crochets here. Now, if you want to do the next row, what you can do is keep the working yarn behind the hook, turn the yarn over. So this is going to be the front side. Consider the front side of your work. This is going to be considered the back side. So some people say the wrong side, right side. So this would be the right side. That would be the wrong side. Just different terminologies. And now, because we talked about the height of the stitch again, it is 3 chains high. So you're going to go ahead and chain 3 more. So 1, 2, 3. And you're going to do is skip the very first stitch. And you're going to put it, so you're going to skip, this is the first stitch right here on the bottom. See this little V right here? You're going to skip that one and place it in here. And this is right above the other double crochet down there. So did 1 yarn over, go underneath the V. So go underneath that V there, pull through. You have, it's gonna look a little crazy, so just make sure this fills out correctly. You have 3 loops, yarn over, let me get my grip better, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is how you do it. And I'll just do a couple more here. So yarn over, go through the next, and again, we're going underneath that V. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go to the next, go to that V, underneath the little V there, see, boom, that's cool. Everybody's happy with that. So hopefully you understand how to do the double crochet, and I've given you a lot of training in this particular video. The only reason why I've done it that way is because the fact is these are the foundation changes you need to learn, and I want to make sure that you're well equipped with all the knowledge going forward, because once you start seeing like the symbols and stuff that I taught you, it's going to make your life so much easier going forward when you look at patterns. And I'm telling you, there's people that's been crocheting for many years that don't know how to read charts or whatever, and just by you looking at the little diagram when I showed you like the little plus, the T, the oval, and I'm just having a hard time here, I'm talking to you, but it's okay, this is the last one here anyway. Double crochet, in half, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, whoops. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Again, I'm trying to look at the camera and do this at the same time, so I'm having a little difficulties, but let's count to see if the stitches, if I miss any, then I can just go ahead and make sure I have one more. And that's why I tell you to use a stitch marker. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got 5 double crochets. So we are good to go. So I got 5. That's what we counted. So hopefully you like this training. Again, I try to make this as fun and entertaining as possible, and also to give you as much information to get you squared away. So we got more tutorials like this. Tutorials, I can't say it right, but be sure to subscribe, like, give me that comment, tell me what you need, because that's what I'm here for. I enjoy doing this stuff. Again, I'm not really the greatest at crocheting. I have fun at it. I learn things. I like to teach people. There's somebody that I work with here. I have a coach, and she teaches me all kinds of stuff, and whatever she teaches me, I try to learn it. And then once I learn it, I like to teach it, because if I don't do it that way, I forget it. So that's why I make these videos. It's for fun, it's to teach myself stuff, and also to share what I've learned with the people like you. So go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, and tell me what you want to see next. Put a comment below what kind of stuff you'd like to see going forward. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao. Bye.